Hi everyone, welcome to week 6. We really have less than 2 weeks left because we actually end on April 20th, which is a Friday. So we've got some things to get done before then. So let's go ahead and see what we need to do this week. So our lesson plan 2 is due this Sunday in LiveText and Canvas. Make sure you turn it in both places. So let's take a look at it. All right. So after seeing the first lesson plan, I definitely was fine with people resubmitting because, it was your first one. So now you know what to do. It's what it's asking for. You need to make sure that it is there. And if there's not a place on that Bernal template for it, make one. But for example, when you need to include the net standard and the CCGPS, you can just do those both under the standards part. When it's talking about the technology part, that's where you can put your technology management approach. These things all need to be explicitly stated. I shouldn't have to just keep reading over it and hunting for them. So you do that the best way that you can to make sure that I can see them. These are the instructions. Okay, this time you're thinking about what we've used in class, word processor, spreadsheets, some concept webbing, like we did with Prezi, PowerPoint, different things like that. Maybe using something like that with your students. You can also include any other type of technology. This week we're talking about blogs and wikis and podcasts. So you could talk about using something like that as well. All right, make sure you include your technology management approach. Here's some examples of things you could do with some of these desktop applications. You also make sure that you have a whole group and a small group task. It's usually a good idea to do some kind of a whole group instruction and then break people up into small groups. A lot of you did that. Make sure that technology is a central part of your lesson plan. It should not be an afterthought. If the students get finished, they can play a game on the computer. Not like that. It has to be a central part of the lesson. All right, here's the template again if you need it. Here's a rubric if you want to download it. It's also right down here. All right, see everything that you need to have. All right, and then you submit that. So that is lesson plan 2 due Sunday. Okay, so we have 3 activities this week. First one. All right, Web 2.0. So you're going to look at this short little presentation. You click here. It's just a PowerPoint. I think it's 4 slides about blogs, wikis, and podcasts. Check out this podcast example page, mrcoley.com. Also, I want you to read this article about using wikis in the classroom and this article about blogs in the classroom. And these things lead you up to doing our technology and equal access discussion question. So as you're answering this question, how can you use these things to make sure students and parents have equal access? How can technology help make that happen? Equal access to information in your classroom. All right, so that's what I want you thinking about for discussion question 6. All right, so this week, instead of you responding to my blog post, you're going to be creating your own blog. Now, this is not very hard, so don't go, oh my gosh, there's no way I can do this. No, it's really not that hard at all. All right, so here is the blog assignment. We'll take a look at that in just a second. Here's some examples of classroom blogs. Now, these are people that have been doing blogs for a long time, so I don't expect yours to look like that. You can also just look at our class blog. You see how simple it is. All right, for this, you can use EduBlogs, but if there's another blogging site like Blogger or something like that that you're more familiar with or would rather use, I'm fine with that as long as it meets the requirements of the assignment. So, speaking of, okay, you're going to create a class blog. It can be for your class that you already have or an imaginary class that you might have one day. All right, and like I said before, if you're more familiar or prefer to use a different blogging service, that's fine. All right, you can take a look at our class blog or those examples that I just showed you here in activity 6.2, right there. All right, so your blog page, when you have it set up, you're going to make sure your name and your class name or your blog name are prominently visible. I should be able to tell whose blog it is. Create one post. It can be about any topic that would be appropriate for the class that you're using. You can make more than one post if you wish, but that is not required. Have a hyperlink that is appropriate to whatever it is you're posting about and an image that is appropriate to whatever it is you're posting about. And then you are going to submit your blog. You just submit the URL and that's it. All right, so that is your blog. Then this one, so these 3 things, the lesson plan 2, discussion question, your blog, they're due this week. This website is your final project, and it is not due until April 20th, but it would not hurt for you to go ahead and get started on it, so I'm going to go over it with you now. Okay, so we have some general instructions here we're just going to take a look at. All right, so like we said, there's no final exam. This is our final project. So you're going to create a basic 3-page website for your pretend class or your real class, whatever you've been using this whole time. All right, it can be used, like we said, on a real or imaginary class. The basic requirements are described here, but you are welcome to make it more elaborate, include more content, especially if it's something that you think you might be able to actually use. So you're going to have your home page, all right? That's the first page of your website. It's where you introduce yourself to your students and your parents or anybody that comes there. Provide a brief description of yourself and your class. Include other introductory information that you would like people to know about yourself, a little getting to know you type thing. It could include at a minimum, there should be a brief description of your class, an introduction of yourself, and contact information. If you just want to put your email address there, your Brenau email address is fine, or make up a phone number. All right. And then some information about the school in which you teach, or that you want to teach at, or you just make up a school. All right. Put some pictures on there, some photos, maybe even of yourself if you want to. You should have 2 working hyperlinks on your home page. They should be appropriate. It could be to the county's webpage, to some Georgia Performance Standard, or anything else appropriate, but just to show that you can do that. All right, then you'll have a student page, and this is designed for students. So make sure that whatever's happening on this page is geared towards whatever age group you teach. All right, and so if it's a lower age group, you might definitely have more images than words, that kind of thing. All right, so make sure it's developmentally appropriate. So make sure that you have some, for early childhood teachers, you could wish to include links to websites that provide practice or homework help or enrichment activities in any of those areas. Middle school, you can link support to 1 or 2 subjects. Maybe you just teach 1 subject. So that's up to you. But on this page, you want to have 2 working links to other websites. So you want to have some kind of a picture, some visuals, but you don't want it to be too distracting. On this page, you also want to link your podcast and your blog. Now, your blog is obviously just the URL to your blog. And the podcast can also, if you use SpeakPipe, then that would just be a link too. But if you have an actual MP3 file that you need to upload, then there are instructions about how to do that right here. If you click back over into Module 6, okay? So that's up to you. Now, those 2 things do not count as the 2 hyperlinks that should be on your page. Those should be separate from those. Then you have your parent page, and it's designed with information for parents. It could be homework help, helping your child prepare for a test, things like that. But you just want to talk to your parents, all right? Say something to them, a page that is for them, all right? So then we have our website rubric. You can take a look at that and everything that is expected to be on each of the pages that we just went over, all right? Then, now, in this class in the past, Google Sites is usually what we push. So there's some help here about doing that. If you want to use Google Sites, that is fine. Here's some information about that. If you prefer to use something else, like Weebly, which I find to be a little easier than Google Sites, there's some information there. There's a link that can help you with that, but that is up to you. Now, if you have something else you prefer to use besides Google Sites or Weebly, that's fine too, as long as you meet all the requirements here. All right, so in addition to that, there are some links to Google Sites help. Here's a video about creating a website with Weebly if you choose to use that. Here's some information about uploading and linking your podcast. So those can both be helpful to you as well. All right, guys, so that is what we are doing this week. So if you're good to go, you can go. I did have someone ask me how I make these screencasts. So I'm going to take just a second to show you the website that I use. I can't show you what it actually looks like because that stuff does not show up when you're recording, if that makes sense. But I use Screencast-O-Matic right here. All right, I actually pay for it because I wanted to do a few more things than it will do if you don't, but it is free. The only thing it won't do, it won't record computer audio if you don't pay for it, but it will record like I'm doing. But you see right here, this kind of shows you what it looks like. It's Screencast-O-Matic. When you click Launch Recorder, this is what comes up right here. And it goes, you can make it as big as your whole screen, which is what I have, or you can just focus on one part. It can record just the screen. It can be a webcam of you talking, or if you click both, it'll be the whole screen with just a little picture of you down in the bottom. Trust me, you guys didn't want me to do that today. It is Sunday. So you can see here when you're talking, just use my earbuds from my iPhone. Then record yourself that way. That's up to you. And if you are choosing to record yourself, then obviously you would just be using your webcam. And then once you are finished with it, this little record button will turn into a pause button. You click that, and then you click end, and it will let you can either choose. I always save everything to YouTube. I just feel like it's easier to find things on my YouTube channel, but you can also save them directly to your computer as well and just have those files. But I like the YouTube because with YouTube you can either have the link or you can get the embed code, which is what I use a lot too. So hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, because it is this recording software, I can't show you what it actually looks like while it's recording because those things don't show up. But if you have questions or you need help, if you download it and start to play around with it, just let me know and I'll be glad to help. Have a great week.